Ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. Good morning, and I would like to just first of all thank all of you for coming out this morning. My name is Zach Corbin. I am the Brown County Prosecuting Attorney. That is Z-A-C-C-O-R-B-I-N. I want to introduce the other folks that we've got up here with me. I've got Special Agent Seth Hageman from the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation. I've got Sheriff Gordon Ellis, the Brown County Sheriff, newly elected, newly taken office, Sheriff Ellis. And I've got Gene Ferrara from Crime Stoppers, who is going to be partnering with the authorities, law enforcement on this case, to hopefully bring in some information that leads this case to a closure. We called this press conference this morning, and we asked all of you to come out to mainly just give you an update on the Brittany Stykes homicide investigation. Most of you are well aware, August 28, 2013, Brittany was murdered here in Brown County. And for the last 3.5 years, that case has plagued this community. It's plagued the law enforcement in this community, but most of all, it has plagued Brittany's family, and the Dotsons are present here today. I can tell you I've been in the office now for over 4 years. So I was in the prosecutor's office when this happened. I was an assistant prosecutor, and this case has remained a priority the entire time. And there is nothing, now that I am the elected prosecutor, there is nothing that I would like to see or place a higher priority on than resolving this case for Brittany's family and for the Brown County community. Now, what we wanted to talk about was the direction that this case is going to take moving forward. And I'm not going to be discussing leads that have been followed up on or that will be followed up on. I'm not going to talk about suspects or persons of interest. I don't think any of the investigators are either. But what I wanted to convey, first of all, is the positive direction and the cooperative approach that's going to be taken with this case from this point forward. Sheriff Ellis, who is again our newly elected sheriff, has already committed to putting forth the resources to solve this case. We had a meeting last week, and we are partnering cooperatively with the Bureau of Criminal Investigation. We've got several agents and personnel from BCI that came out last week and sat down with us, briefed us on the case, what they've done. We had a very productive meeting. And I know that my office and Sheriff Ellis's office, we are not going to let a lack of resources be an impediment to bringing justice in this case. Moving forward, we are going to continue to work side by side with the Bureau of Criminal Investigation. BCI, the Brown County Sheriff's Office, the Brown County Prosecutor's Office are going to work together and put forth all the manpower and all the resources that we possibly can to get this case solved. Now, and Sheriff Ellis can talk a little bit more about this, but in his first week and a half in office, Sheriff Ellis has already named his main point of contact to lead this investigation. And it's going to be Commander John Berkey, who is present today. Commander Berkey is the commander of our Brown County Drug and Major Crimes Task Force. Commander Berkey comes with 40-plus years of law enforcement experience, including as a homicide investigator in Hamilton County. And Commander Berkey is going to be the main point of contact for the Brown County law enforcement team. Commander Berkey is going to have at his disposal the Brown County Sheriff's Office investigative unit to utilize in approaching this case. The Bureau of Criminal Investigation is going to work side by side, Sheriff Ellis and Commander Berkey, in investigating this case moving forward. And through Crime Stoppers, Gene Ferrara here, we are going to ask the public, we're going to reach out to the public. There is going to be a monetary award, and Gene Ferrara will discuss that. Mr. Ferrara will explain how that process works. But we need the public. There is somebody out there that knows what happened to Brittany. Somebody has that information, and we need that information to be passed along. So we're going to partner with Crime Stoppers, and we're going to keep this out in front of the public so that someone out there, anybody with information, knows how to reach out to us and convey that information anonymously to the law enforcement. With that, I would like to invite Sheriff Ellis to step forward, and Sheriff, if you would, just share what you can about the status of your investigation and moving forward on this case.
Thank you. You know, as you can see, Brown County is served with a fine prosecutor and Prosecutor Corbin, and I'm pleased to say this morning that the level of cooperation on this case, including our partners in BCI and I, Seth has done a great job in setting the table to continue forward progress in the investigation of this case, and with close cooperation with the Brown County Prosecutor's Office. So the key here is to understand where we are in this case and how we're going to move forward in a manner that gives us the best opportunity to solve it. So as a component of that, I've received a thorough briefing on this case and sat down with BCI and I and determined that the best way to move forward at the local level, number one, is to assign Commander Berkey of the Brown County Drugs and Major Crime Task Force. As already been stated, Commander Berkey has a wealth of experience in homicide investigations. The other thing that we have done at the Brown County Sheriff's Office is applied resources and committed additional resources, whatever's necessary to move this case to a successful conclusion. So the bottom line here is we understand that we have a grieving family here that has lost a loved one, and we're going to do our absolute best to ensure that we give them closure in this case. I want to ensure that the resources that are necessary at the local level are applied to this case. I want to ensure that there is a sound, continuous level of coordination between BCI and I and Commander Berkey, who represents Brown County, as we move forward in this case. And I'm convinced that the prosecutor is already thoroughly as part of the team in bringing this case to a successful conclusion. So I would end by saying that if there's anyone out there that has information on this case, this is a case that cries out for justice. So if you have information or you have any knowledge of anything that can help us resolve the case, I would encourage you to contact us. Again, this is a case where a victim who can't be with us today cries out for justice. So if you know something, please contact us. We want to bring closure to this family. And with that, I'm going to introduce Seth, the lead agent with BCI and I.
Good morning. My name is Seth Hageman. I'm a special agent with the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation. This case, Brittany Stykes, as well as she was pregnant and her unborn child, their homicide is one that we at BCI feel is well worth any effort that can be put forth to solve it. We're here to partner with the Sheriff's Office as well as the Prosecutor's Office to make sure that all leads are followed and this is a thorough and complete investigation. I echo what the Sheriff said, that I firmly believe that there are people out there who still have information about this case who haven't come forward yet. And I just want to say this would be an opportunity for that person to truly make a difference in the lives of a family and a community to bring that information forward. And I commit to that person, whoever they are, that we will actively and aggressively pursue whatever leads they bring forward. So with that, I thank you, and I'll introduce Mr. Farrar.
Thanks, Seth. My name is Gene Ferrara, and I'm with the Board of Directors for the Greater Cincinnati Crime Stoppers chapter. Our role in this is really to partner with law enforcement agencies, and we cover 9 counties and law enforcement agencies in those 9 counties. We're not law enforcement. We don't do any investigation. We're simply the coordination point. If someone has information about a crime, they can call Crime Stoppers. The biggest thing that we offer is anonymity. Most of the time, people are not coming forward. They're reluctant because they don't want to be identified. If they use our process, they will not be identified. We couldn't identify those tipsters even if we wanted to, which we don't, because our process guarantees that that person will not be known by anything other than a code number. and they may be eligible for a reward. The most important thing, though, I think, is the fact that they can come forward with information that we will pass along to the investigative agencies that they can use as a lead for their investigation. And that information will remain anonymous. That's the biggest thing. So we're happy to be able to partner with this. We'd like to see it solved. Over the years that we've been in existence, we've helped law enforcement agencies solve over 540 homicides. So we just hope that we can make this one of those on the solve side. Thank you.
Is there a reward right now beyond our standard one?
At this point in time, we're just following the standard matrix that the national chapter for Crime Stoppers recommends. And the purpose for that is to try to have consistency so that one case doesn't get something more than another case gets, because one family may say, well, how come them and not me? You gave them 10,000, you gave us this. And so we try to maintain some consistency and use that matrix that's been put out by the national.
Other questions?
My question is, you're calling on people to come forward. Why would they come forward now when they haven't since that day in August? What do you want to say to someone who might be teetering on the edge of calling with what they know? Is it a different day? Do you feel like the answers are here and you're going to find them? What's changed to the people out there in Brown County?
Well, to answer your first question, I can't explain why some individual may wait to provide information, but we know just from past cases that does happen. Sometimes folks sit on information for years before they decide to come forward. And why that is, it can depend on a lot of circumstances. But to those individuals, I would say that in this case, you had a young mother who was with her baby in the car seat next to her. She was pregnant, and she's got a family. She left behind her child. She's left behind her mother and her father. She's left behind siblings. She's left behind aunts and uncles. This was a human being with a family that for the rest of their lives will not have her at the dinner table at holidays. They will never have her with them again. And the only thing that we can give them, we can't give Brittany back, but the only thing that we can give that family is an answer. And the only way we're going to do that is with information. I know there's somebody out there. We know that somebody out there knows what happened to Brittany. And so we plead with that person today. Give this family the answer that they need. Give us the information that we need to move forward and do our jobs. And let's get somebody held accountable. Let's get the answer. Let's bring somebody to justice for this. That's all we can say to those individuals. But I would plead with anyone with information, whether you feel that it's significant or not. You may think I have, and that's something else. Sometimes they may think they know, they may have a little bit of information. They may feel that it's insignificant. But let the investigators, let these guys that do this for a living, let them determine whether that information is significant or not. So no matter how minor or how insignificant you think that information may be, if you have information, you provide it. And you can provide it anonymously. And let the investigators determine whether or not that information is significant. That's what I would ask.
Certainly we've had leads that looked promising before, the search warrant in Kentucky, the informant's information that seemed to have some credible background to it, information, for instance, only the perpetrator might know. Didn't produce anything. What happened there?
Well, I'm not going to go back and talk about specifics on what happened, but what I will say is this is a case that has been going 3.5 years almost. This case has been open, and it's never been closed. This case has never been boxed up and put away and forgotten about, and it won't be. So for the last 3.5 years, this case has been worked. There have been leads that have been followed up on. You are correct. But this is a case that we feel there is still information to be obtained. There is still information out there that we can collect. And so moving forward, that's what we want to focus on, is getting that information. And I can assure you that this team, they are going to devote the best that they have towards resolving this. So, again, have there been things in the past that have been followed up on? Yes, but there is more to do, and that's what we want to focus on, is moving forward and doing that to the best of our abilities to get the answer.
Do you think there was any progress made on the past investigations? Or what can you take from that? We go back from like square one. Can you tell us how this is going to proceed in terms of going back, looking at investigator notes, interviewing people that have already been interviewed? Kind of give us a rundown of what's going to happen.
I may defer to the actual investigators on this. I mean, as a prosecutor, we rely on the investigators to handle that part of the case. They bring forth to us what they've got, and then collectively we make the decision when we're ready, hopefully, to file a charge. So as far as the investigation and what they're going to do, I would defer to Sheriff Ellis and Special Agent Hageman on that.
Okay, in reference to your question, will we go back and look at information that has been obtained? Absolutely. As a component of that thorough briefing that I received, there was a thorough review of all information that has been gathered in this case up until the point where I received that brief. Now, with a complex investigation of this nature, it is not unusual that you're going to have information that you run down. There's more information that is gathered as the case continues, and we anticipate that there'll be additional information as we go forward. But we will run every bit of information down to its logical conclusion as far as we can go, and we'll continue to do that. But one of the reasons that we have met and pooled our resources is to ensure that we're capable of doing that in a rapid manner and addressing any information that comes forward. So there's nothing that we received that we won't run to its logical conclusion. Some of that has been done, and we anticipate that we'll continue to work this case, and we're hopeful that additional information will be gained, and when that occurs, we'll run that down.
Sheriff, I want to ask the sheriff one question. I had heard, and I don't know if this is true, that one of the reasons you ran for sheriff is because this case was, I don't know, connected to you in some way. You felt there could be a conclusion and that a change was part of that moving forward. Is that true? That Brittany Stykes was part of the reason you ran?
And there are a multitude of reasons that I ran for sheriff, so I can't say that it's one particular issue. I will
contribute?
Yes, ma'am. I will say that in my career, I have been involved as a former police chief in homicide investigations. There are very few crimes that are committed in society that impact individuals and families in a manner that a homicide does. So one of the things that I did run on is I wanted to treat every citizen complaint, and the theory I used was treat it as if it was your aunt or your brother, because every crime involves a victim who is somebody's aunt or their brother. This crime is no different. What troubles me about this crime, to the greatest extent, is the fact that we have a family that's lost a daughter. We can never bring that back. The prosecutor discussed that. But what we as law enforcement officers can do is we can bring that family closure. And that we can do, and that we should do, and to be honest with you, that's what every law enforcement officer starts their career doing. Another reason, one of the reasons I ran for sheriff, is because I want to ensure that in every case, and in these particularly painful cases, that I can look a family in the eye at some point and say, we've done everything we can do. And I want to ensure that we do that. Okay. This case should never fail to be resolved because we didn't provide enough resources, we didn't coordinate our efforts, we didn't run down every bit of information. So what I can do as a sheriff, I will do. So hopefully I've answered your question.
Sheriff, did the release of the information in the search warrant in the fall of 15 publicly hinder the investigation?
You know, I'm not going to comment on that simply because I wasn't in office at the time. The only thing I can tell you, much as the prosecutor's already stated, that we focus on where we are today, which is the reason I got that thorough briefing, and what we're going to do moving forward. You know. Seth, anything you want to add?
I've got, if I could, Sheriff. since I've made such a big deal about anonymous information coming to Crime Stoppers, I guess I ought to say about how do you do that. By phone, you can call 1-800-352-3040, and we'll accept text messages, and you can text to CINTIP, that's CINTIP, and the message is crimes, CRIMES, and then whatever information you might have that you want passed along. So again, 1-800-352-3040, text messages to CINTIP, and the message to crimes, and that's 274-637. And that information, again, is anonymous. We will assign a code number to that person, and that's the only way we will know them. And if the reward is paid out because the investigating agencies tell us that that tip helped resolve and get an arrest, then that reward will be paid out to the code number, not to a name. Thank you.
Can I talk to Beth real quick?
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks, Gene. Sure. You're not new on this case.
I've been on the case for about a year now.
So when I know you don't want to go back, but when you spent a year and a half in this case, are there things that you can do over, things that you can see, that you see differently from the investigation that so far has not led to a conclusion?
Well, being an investigator that comes to a case after the fact comes with both challenges, but it also comes with some opportunities. It comes with a chance for me to look at a case from a different perspective outside of the context of events as they were happening and re-examine some of the leads that may have already been examined. And in some of those cases, the context for the witnesses may have changed. In the time period that's gone by, relationships may change, or where someone lives may change, or they may have heard someone talk about something that happened years after. So a case is a living being, and it evolves. And by coming in late, it gives me an opportunity to kind of look with a new perspective on the work and the foundation that's already been laid.
But just the question, again, just real specific. When you looked at that with fresh eyes, did you see some things that could be pursued further? Some things that need to be done over? So we're not just starting here and saying, please call us.
No, not at all. What we did was we took a very specific analytical approach to lay out everything that's ever been done in the case file. And we're going to re-examine every person who's ever been mentioned as a person of interest, and we're going to run that to ground. And if you think of it as a maze, we may run to a lot of dead ends, but eventually we are going to come to the path that leads us to the conclusion of this case.
Do you think the answer is here in Brown County? And do you think there's a chance the person responsible will be watching the news tonight?
You know, I wouldn't say Brown County necessarily specifically, but in the Cincinnati metropolitan area, I think the answer exists. And within your viewing audience, I think definitely there's someone that has the answer, and there's definitely a suspect.
What's your message to that person?
To the suspect?
Yeah.
The people who did this, my message is, you know, at the time that you did this, you took away a life from a husband and a mother and father and brothers and sisters, and maybe you didn't know what you were doing at the time, but now that you've had time to reflect on it, it's time to come forward and let us know what happened. And if you don't, we're going to find you.
Do you believe, are you confident in that last statement?
I believe we're going to give every effort. I don't like to make promises in these kind of cases, but I think that, you know, I wouldn't classify this as a cold case. There were a lot of good leads in this case, and we're going to aggressively follow every single one.
Anybody else? Well, thank you all for coming, and I'll be around for a while. I know these guys will be around here for a bit if anybody has any follow-up questions. But thank you very much. We appreciate what you do.